This is Kyle Hunter and Elijah Fleming with Don't Mean Nothing. We're here with Gunny Bain. Lewis is a Marine Corps combat veteran, a combat engineer, and we appreciate having you and looking forward to talking to you today.
Thanks, man.
So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and family life.
Well, I grew up I was born in Valpo, Indiana, and was raised in a place, we called it the Haven. It was a little subdivision, or a big subdivision, but it was pretty much everything you needed was there, and you could just go everywhere there. It was pretty neat. And then
This is
went to high school.
Valparaiso?
Yeah, it's considered Valparaiso.
Gotcha.
Portage schools. I went to Portage High School, graduated there. I was on the swim team. I was in the marching band for a little while, got kicked out.
Tell us about that.
I might have taken alcohol on a field trip. And somebody other than me couldn't handle it and caused a scene. So at first I just got in a lot of trouble and kicked out a marching band, but I was still in the regular band, and then it wasn't any fun, so I just quit or got asked to leave.
So before you get too far ahead, what was childhood life like your family, your home life?
Well, my mom's Irish. My dad is full-blooded Serbian. So we would spend, he was a steel worker. So we would spend, we were celebrating Russian Christmas.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of holidays with his family. You know, we got to take vacations all the way up until 1983. He got laid off at the mill, and then his plant got shut down. So he was kind of just in limbo there for a little while, and then he died of a heart attack when I was 8. But then growing up, you know, my mom, she married a couple times, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Until I graduated, and then I got out of the house.
Yeah, sorry to hear that about your dad. So do you still have core memories about him, his work ethic, stuff like that from when you were little?
Well, I do know every time the phone rang for him to go to work, he went to work. I do know that. And then I remember playing football with him and stuff. Yeah, go fishing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So, when did he come to the U.S.? Was he born here?
Yes.
Gotcha.
His parents came over on the boat. One was from Yugoslavia, one was from Czechoslovakia, in those areas, and they're probably called something different now, but that's what it was back then. And they came different ways and met. Grandfather came to work at the mill, worked out at U.S. Steel in Gary, and they grew up in Gary, the whole family, and then literally most of my aunts and uncles, the ones that are still alive, are right around this area.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
So most of your family's out here, not...
Yeah. My mom's side of the family's spread out everywhere. A big majority's in Florida, but...
Cool.
Yeah.
My dad worked for Chicago Tube and Iron.
Okay.
So definitely. But he was a driver, so a little different. But
Yeah.
What did you play sports or anything growing up?
Swimming.
Just swimming?
I think I played 1 year of baseball. I was absolutely horrible at it. I had one home run that I actually just watched go over the fence in amazement and just stood there. And the catcher stood up and goes, "Hey, man, you got to run." So, yeah, that was about it.
How do you think, and I know this is probably not the easiest thing to answer, but how do you think, losing your dad so young affected you in terms of having a male role model, with you growing up?
I had them. They were just different ways.
Yeah. Like what?
A couple stepfathers, teachers, coaches, like my swim coach.
Yeah.
2 of them. One, he was the runner-up for the Olympics, I think is how it went. When Mark Spitz won all of his medals,
Yeah.
he was the next guy. He got beat out by Mark Spitz, and he didn't look like a swimmer, just like I don't. He was this little short dude. We used to call him Mighty Mouse because that's what he looked like, just short and stocky and strong. But big positive influence.
Yeah. What kinds of things do you remember learning from him that you carried with you?
Discipline, working through stuff,
Yeah,
shit like that.
I'm sure discipline was huge for being that far in the Olympics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know how some of those guys do it, man. That's like another level of staying focused.
Oh, he was an animal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, our practices were something else sometimes.
Felt that way about wrestling when I was a kid too, so I get it. So in high school, what made you turn towards the Marine Corps in the first place? Did you sign up yourself? Was it before 9/11?
The whole plan for me was to go to college. A lot of my brothers served in the military, and my sisters, they didn't go to school, so they wanted me to be the first one to go, and that was the plan. My senior year, for some reason, they had us take the ASVAB instead of the state test that year. And I apparently did very well on it because all the recruiters started calling me. Well, I would play this game with them. Oh, yeah, I'll get back with you. And the Marine recruiter was like, listen, dude, I need to meet with you. Will you just sit down with me? How about tonight? And I go, listen, I'm busy, but let me tell you, if you get here, I'm literally getting ready to run out the house. If you get here in the next 10 minutes, I'll sit down with you. Now, this is in the day when cell phones were few and far between.
Right.
Okay, like they were just transitioning from bag phones in cars to an actual handheld phone. So I think I got this dude. Fuck you, Bow. I hang up and I bolt towards the door to head out the door, and I open up the door, and he's standing there on a cell phone with a big old smile on his face. I was like, oh, shit, man. So I think I'm going to listen to this dude and not do anything.
Yeah.
But he had a way with words, and next thing you know, I was originally signed up for 6 years to be an airplane mechanic or something like that. And he had it, you're going to be so great, and this is going to be so cool. And my mom comes home, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I just enlisted in the Marines. And she's like, no, you didn't. So she calls the recruiter and tries telling him. And he's like, nah, he's 18. He's mine. Sorry, I got him. So I call him the next day, and I was like, dude, I'm sitting here thinking about it. This is why my mom doesn't want me to go. She wants me to go to college. And he's like, oh, I got you covered. You can be a reservist then, man. You go do your schooling, go do your training and everything. You come back, you do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in a year, during the summer. Good job, man. Serve your country. Go to school too. All right. Well, then in the meantime, my mom's talking to my brother who was in the Navy. And he just gets on this trip about me being, well, if you're going to go in the military, why don't you just go to the Naval Academy? Because then you're getting college, and then you're going in the military and serving, and it's everything. I was like, all right, well, if you can do it, go ahead. I didn't think he could do it. And actually, this happened before I joined the Marines. So he's talking about this, and I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in hell, because in the meantime, I'm still applying to colleges. And I joined the Marines, and he calls, and he tells me, hey, man, I got you in. I pulled a lot of strings, but I got you in. And I was like, oh, that's great, because I just joined the Marines. He goes, you know what they do? You know what they sound like? You know what they look like? You're not my brother. Click. Hangs up on me. Well, I remember my mom walks in. Who was that? I was like, that was Billy. Yeah, what do you want? He never wants to talk to me again.
Wow, that guy must have really had a way with words. Yeah. So you make the decision to go with the reserves, right?
Yeah.
And what year was that?
93.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was pretty quick. It was a pretty quick decision because I want to say I turned 18 in late April, So it was probably, I signed in like May or June, and then I was gone in August.
So that would have been right after Desert Storm then, right?
Yeah, I was in high school, sophomore in high school when Desert Storm happened.
Gotcha. How long after you signed up did you get to boot camp?
A couple months. I want to say I went to boot camp in August. So after I signed up, I decided that I was going to follow the Grateful Dead for a little while. So I was working at this bolt company, and I told them, I was like, guys, I'm going to a Grateful Dead concert tonight. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll see you in a couple weeks then. And I'm like, why? Why you say that? You know, I go to this Grateful Dead show, and next thing you know, I'm talking to these people about we're going to go down to Deer Creek together, and we're stopping at grocery stores selling peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to pay for gas. And we ended up we went down to Deer Creek and then up to Alpine Valley and then called it quits. And I came back and I was recuperating from that. I'm at work and I get a call from one of the recruiters in the recruiter station. He's like, hey man, how you feeling right now? It's like, well, I'm a little hungover, man. I just came back from following Grateful Dead. He's like, that's great. You better figure out how to detox because you're leaving for boot camp in 2 days. I'm like, what? And he goes, you heard me. We're coming to get you in 2 days. And he hangs up on me. I'm like, what the hell? So I go tell my boss, I was like, dude, I think I need to leave because I've got to leave for boot camp in 2 days. And he's like, well, don't you have to tell us or something? I go, I don't know. I just told you, you know? So we go out, and I mean, I'm chugging water because I smoked some weed and stuff while I was there. Did Grateful Dead things.
Yeah, of course.
You know? And I'm chugging water. Everybody's giving me the old wise tales on how to detox and everything.
Niacin.
And then I get there, the recruiters come, and I had hair at the time. It was like down to my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I had this group of girls. They took me to one of their houses and they braided it and cut it off and kept locks of my hair like on their key rings. But so they come to get me. I have my head shaved, and they send me down to Indianapolis. And like you do your last physical there, and I remember that night after the physical, I had to leave at like some stupid time in the morning. Union Station used to be open in Indianapolis, and there was a Hooters. And me and another guy, I think he was going in the Air Force, we go to this Hooters and we sit down, and I just half-assingly joked to this lady, like, hey, I'm leaving for boot camp tomorrow. Is there any way I can get a pitcher of beer? And she came back with a pitcher of beer. So me and this guy, 18 years old, drinking a pitcher of beer at the Hooters, man. It was great. And then when we get on the plane, you know, the next day, we get on the airplane, and the flight attendant asked me, like, are you going to boot camp? Yes, I am. How'd you know? Oh, your head's shaved. You know, it's real clean in there. Yeah, I am. She brought me 2 shooter bottles of wild turkey. She's like, here, you're going to need this. And I get off the airplane. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it's late. I mean, I spent all day in an airport, so it's late at night. And we get there, and you come down this escalator, and there's a Marine sitting there, and he has just the most serious face, don't fuck with me look, you know? And I'm like, hey, my name's Louis Bain. I'm here to be in boot camp. And he's like, don't fucking talk to me. Get the fuck over there. And it was like, at first I'm like, okay, that was kind of rude, you know? So I go over, sit down, and I see everybody's look on their faces in this area where he told me to sit down. And they look like they got told their mothers were dead. You know, they're just scared. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with you guys, man? This ain't gonna be so bad. All kinds of people do this, you know? And then we get in, you know, they put you in a bus or a van, and they make you put your head down so you don't know the way to get back to the airport, because the airport is literally butts up to the boot camp. And so they drive you around, and they get you out. You start just like you've seen on all the documentaries, yellow footprints, screamed at, and then they take you to this area. They call it receiving area, where you form your platoons. All these different people come in, and you make your platoon. And it was kind of casual. The drill instructor wasn't really yelling. You could ask him questions, but he'd tell you, you know, like, hey, when you talk to a drill instructor, you talk to him like this. When you get told to do this, you stand like this, and this is a weapon, and this is this, and here. So he'd start you off with tries to get you a good start. We were there maybe a couple days, but we didn't sleep. They kept you up. So you're doing shots, you're doing all of this stuff. And then you get that, you think, oh man, if this is boot camp, this really isn't that bad, you know? And then you meet your real drill instructors. They march you to your new barracks. You go in there, you put everything down, you sit down, and they make this formality out of it where they march them up and they tell you, they give you this damn lecture. And then once the lecture's done, you have 4 motherfuckers just blowing you up, and ain't nothing you're doing is right. And it seems like everything they do is hazing you. And it's like that I was there 15 or 16 weeks. And I'd say 12 weeks was like that.
Where were you? Where was it?
San Diego, California.
Okay. And so you said everybody else looked like they were terrified. Were you scared going into this?
Well, okay, so the day that we met the drill instructors, they just start, you know, running around, thrashing. I'm like, if this is the real boot camp, I'm fucked, is pretty much what I'm thinking. I'm like, we're all dead, you know? And so one of the drill instructors was a Desert Storm vet. Actually, I think 3 or 4 of them were Desert Storm vets. But one starts talking about helos falling out of the sky and bodies burning, the smell of dirty skin and all of this stuff. And I think somebody said something about, yeah, you're going to make me cry, or something about crying. And he was like, oh, I can make all of you cry. And he just started talking like that. And it was about, I don't know, we were there maybe 3 hours because we went to chow too and came back. And I'm standing there and I look over and every one of us is just sitting there. Just freaking like, it was bad.
What would you say the best and the worst memory you have from boot camp are? Could be the funniest one. It could be anything.
The best memory was probably graduating.
Talk about that.
And then, like, the moment you graduate, you go over and you thank your drill instructor for teaching you to be a Marine, you know? And it was like talking to Bob back on the block. You know, it was a complete night and day thing. And it was like, oh, they are fucking people after all, you know?
Yeah.
And then the worst day was probably what I just said, that day where they just absolutely annihilated us. And then there were some times in between. You know, we had the Joe Bag of Donuts there, a recruit, and we had to take care of him. And we had another thing on that first day that happened.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure everybody's hydrated that first day. So you're just drinking water. And back then it was canteens. So you're sitting there, you're just chugging a canteen of water, and then you turn it upside down. If anybody has water fall out, you're drinking another canteen of water. Now this is right after chow. So everybody's belly's full of food too, and we're just sitting there chugging water. And there's this recruit, like 2, maybe 3 racks down, and he just unleashes on the ground, vomits right onto the deck. And here comes the drill instructor, and they do this trick where they would stop down there and slide to where they wanted to be. And so here comes the drill instructor. He comes sliding, and he stops right in front of this recruit and this pile. It's mostly water.
Yeah.
But it had chunks in it. And he looks at the recruit, and then looks down at the vomit, and he sees these things that look like chunks of ham. And he looks up at him, and he's like, "Where the hell did you get ham? We didn't have ham for lunch. Get 10 of your friends on the quarterdeck." So we got thrashed because his vomit didn't look like what we had for lunch.
Wow. So what? Tell us about the Joey Bag of Donuts guy.
I was, he was overweight. He couldn't do anything right. I mean, he could take a shower and after showering would still stink. And everybody, they ended up finding crackers and peanut butter in his Foot Locker. I mean, classic. And it was like, and they didn't say, they were like, I don't know if I were you guys, I don't know what I'd do if I were you guys, but I'm going to go in here for about 15 minutes. So, and we just did what we did. What Marines do. That's all.
And did he make it through boot camp?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he graduated boot camp, and I remember graduation day. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going home right away. I'm gonna stay here, and I'm at this hotel. Come see me." And I had already had plans with another guy in boot camp. We were gonna visit a Marine up in Camp Pendleton, so we were gonna rent a car and go up there. And so we decided we're gonna stop at this hotel and see what this dude's doing. And he's got like 3 fucking boxes of pizza in there, and he's just sitting there eating. We're like, what are you doing, dude? You just lost all that weight. You couldn't even do anything, and now you're doing it again? I was like, didn't you learn anything?
So you didn't have any family before that was military, right? A prior military?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
did?
my dad served in Korea.
Oh, okay.
He was in the Army in
Wow.
Korea. He received the Purple Heart. So when I was little, before he died, he showed me his ribbon rack. And I promptly was a little asshole and flushed him down the toilet.
Oh, no.
And unbeknownst to me, his records were in the record fire in St. Louis. So there's no records of
Wow.
what medals he rated. So
Was he Army?
yes, he was. I believe he drove a truck in the Army.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he got shot. I remember him telling me the story. They had to get out of the vehicles and go lay on a hill because they were getting ambushed. And literally the round went through the ground and shot him in the leg. Came out of the ground, hit him in his leg, and then went back in the ground. And
Wow.
I know at his funeral, like, it was massive.
Yeah.
A lot of his Army buddies came. It was pretty cool to see.
So when you got the Eagle Globe and Anchor, when you graduated, talk about what that pride felt like, or how it felt for you confidence-wise, being that young.
Well, back then it was different. It's not like the Crucible that they do
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
where they have this formal thing where they give you the Eagle Globe and Anchor. It was pretty much you would go up and you did your range time up at Camp Pendleton, Camp Edson, and then when you came back, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion because you started to dress like a Marine. Before then, you had like you wore the camis and everything, but it looked different because you had your sleeves down, you didn't have them rolled right, all your stuff wasn't ironed, your trousers are unbloused, and you come back from Edson, the field, and now you're blousing your boots, you're ironing your camis, everything's getting starched, so you start walking, acting like a Marine, and thinking you're a Marine, pretty much, even though you're still getting treated like a recruit. And then we did a thing called the Marine Trail, which you'd put a pack on and your rifle, and there's a lot of obstacle courses out there. You'd go do all the obstacle courses, and then you finished in this pit where you do pugil sticks, and you just go in there, you beat the piss out of each other, and then they come back and you finish the Marine Trail, you're a Marine.
Wow.
So, and then that's how it was.
Yeah. Still a big moment for you, right?
Oh yeah, it was cool. Yep, yeah, especially from the first day of meeting the drill instructors to where I thought I was going to die. I don't know what I'm getting into.
So between when you graduated and when you got activated, what was life like as a reservist?
Well, let's see here.
Well, before I get there, when did you decide to go for combat engineers? Was that something that you...
That was really... I thought I was going to be a heavy equipment operator because he's like, oh yeah, you're going to drive a dozer or something. And so when they told me I was going to be a combat engineer, I was surprised. I But I think it was just because that was the closest unit to me is how it happened.
Gotcha. Okay. So this wasn't like something that you were planning to go do. It was like just kind of fit in that way.
Yeah.
Was there special training that was like, I know like the Army Corps of Engineers, how they have like the specific training just for that and how it's
So as a recruit, when you get out, every Marine goes to a combat training. You do that for a week, and then reservists, you don't go home to take leave or go to a unit. You go to your school right away. And so I got there, it was like around Thanksgiving time, and it's a basic school. So they teach you wood frame construction, a little bit of bridging, concrete, cinder block construction, demolitions, some kind of road repairs, a little bit of reconnaissance, mine detecting. You do a bunch of these specific obstacle courses for your MOS. Pretty much, we had to demine an area under fire. You build, combat engineers build and destroy obstacles, so we had to do that also.
Gotcha. How long was that school?
8 weeks.
Okay.
8, something like that.
And so after that, you're technically a combat engineer after that school. Okay.
Yeah.
So from there, you go home, and then you start the process of the 2 weekends a month, right? Is it
1 weekend a month?
1 weekend a month.
Yeah, I started that, and I remember I get there, and the whole unit went, or 95% of them were in Desert Storm. So you had this huge array of people, like some people that were combat vets, they were like, all hard and squared away and like, yeah, I'm a combat vet. And then the other dudes were like, they'd wear their covers all fucked up. They'd be walking around with their hands in their pockets. They'd be like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. Not as a Marine, you're taught quick and immediate obedience to orders. And they weren't like that. Yeah, it was like, they'd sound reveille and they'd sleep in. They'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll get up in a few more minutes. And so it was different.
Yeah. So what did you do in that time between when you graduated and when you were activated?
Well, I tried to go find a job. I worked as what did I do? I went back to my nut and bolt job, being at the nut and bolt supplier. Then I framed houses for a little while. Then I worked at an auto parts store for a little bit, and then I became a garbage man. $12.95 an hour and all you can eat, man. But I got that. I worked there probably for a year or so, and then I kind of bounced around garbage man jobs, thought I was going to go make a lot of money, and found out I didn't want to make a lot of money because I was working. All I was doing was working.
Yeah.
I'd work and sleep. And I also, at the time I had just joined, I was a volunteer fireman. So that was kind of something big for me. And then my son was born while I was a garbage man. I worked for the city of Portage. And so, it's kind of important for me to spend time with family, and I wanted to do the fire department thing. So then I went to the city of Valparaiso and was garbage man there. And I did a little bit of everything there. And then I also worked side jobs. I was a DJ for a little while. My wife, her dad, we used to find side jobs, go work cash side jobs and stuff too. I was a physical trainer. I don't look like it now, but I used to be a trainer.
Yeah.
And then what else did I do?
No college.
Not yet. So when I left, I decided when I was at the city of Valparaiso, I was like, you know what? I had told myself I'd never go work at the mill because, my dad got laid off, shut down, fuck that place, fuck those people. And I was like, I think I could make that much money at the mill and still go to college. Even though the whole time I had the GI Bill, I could have been going to college the whole time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'll go work at the mill and go to college. So one of my friends incentivized me, said, you know what, you go to college and you get good grades, we're going to take you out to a nice steak dinner. Bet. So I get hired out at the mill, and I went to college for 2 semesters. Took some really cool math classes, and then that was it. Never went back, except for what I did in the Marines.
Right.
So,
So 9/11 happens, obviously. That's did you know when you saw the what happened on TV that you were going to be getting
I figured. I was literally off of work. I had hurt my back at work, and I was off doing physical therapy and stuff like that. And my brother had just retired from the Navy, the one that disowned me. And we were on talking terms again. And so he got a job out in Virginia. And every morning I'd get up, part of my routine, I'd sit down on the computer and what's now IMing. I forgot what it was called, something else back
AIM?
then. Yep.
Yeah.
It was something else besides like Skype or something.
Yeah, one of those.
So but it was a way we could talk, and I would watch this channel. It was called Tech TV, and it was like about computer programming and all this shit. And they broke in, and this lady was like, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And she's like in shock. Well, I'm thinking it's like somebody's private airplane hit the Trade Center. I'm like,
Right.
what's she so upset about? And then she says, well, yeah, I got friends in that building. I'm like, maybe I want to change the channel. Well, in the meantime, I'm messaging my brother, and he immediately is like, yeah, a plane just hit the building. We're under attack. Like, he knew right away. And I'm like, no, it's probably like a Piper Cub or a Learjet. And so I changed the channel, and literally I saw it, and I was like, no, that ain't no, and then I saw the second plane hit the building, and I was like, yeah, this is it. It's go time. Yeah. So I have a humidor of some real nice cigars. I was like, I don't think I went to my physical therapy that day. I went to the fire department, and I was handing out cigars. I was like, I got a feeling I'm going to be gone soon. But it ended up being, that was 2001. I didn't deploy till the invasion of Iraq, so that was 2003, But yeah, things changed a little bit, like with the way we trained in the Marines. We did a lot more accountability of people. We started training a little more towards our MOSs, a little more directed, I would say, training. It wasn't, because like a combat engineer MOS is very broad. If you look at our training, I can't remember what they're called, medals, and if you look at ours, our book of medals is this thick, whereas others is not as thick. So, but I was getting more directed to what we were training on that then.
So how did you find out that you were going to be activated and going over there?
So we were getting ready to go to drill in January, and there was starting to be a little bit of rumbling on the news about stuff happening in Iraq and all the ultimatums and the chemical weapon inspectors going in and everything. And so we kind of had an idea, and I carpooled with a buddy that lived in Valparaiso at the time, and we go out there. And literally, we were there like an hour. We had our initial formation. They take accountability on everybody that's there. And normally, they have word to pass. This time, they didn't have word to pass. All of a sudden, you see all of the staff and command go away. And we're just left in formation, sitting there, wondering what the hell, we didn't get told to do a class, go do any kind of stuff, or get ready to leave to go work to training. So we kind of had an idea. They came back and they were like, everybody into this room, and they put us in this room, and they're like, well, it's happened, gents. Go home and tell your families we're deploying. So that happened, and they after that they did give us some briefings, and then we had to admin. Everything has admin in it. So you have to go through admin and do some legal stuff and everything. And then we went back home, and it just so happened, the guy I was carpooling with, our wives are real good friends, so they were hanging out together that night. So we pull into his driveway, and we go walking in. They popped up. They were watching a movie or something. They popped up and they were like, "You guys are going to Iraq, aren't you?"
How
they knew.
They knew?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep. It was so. It was just a couple days. I had to, like, that night. I went home. I called my family, called work, and then just started throwing all my stuff together. We went back to the unit the next day. Next day? Yeah, we had to report back the next day. And then we drove home every day just to start getting stuff together. And I think we were maybe here a week. And then they chartered a flight for us from the South Bend Airport to San Diego or LAX. I can't remember. But they put us on a flight, and then we pretty much, any unit at Camp Pendleton that had left, we went and filled in their barracks. So we went there, we trained there for, I don't know, maybe probably another, we got activated, it was the second week of January, and by the second week of February, we were in Kuwait. So we were only there a week or two. And I know we got there before Valentine's Day, because I made all the Marines have a secret Valentine. And we had this one guy from another unit, he got attached to us. We didn't know this man from Adam, didn't know his personality, and he makes this card for some guy that we would probably thought it was funny if it was from one of us.
Yeah.
But he did it, and we were all like, "What is wrong with this dude, man?"
What was it?
I better not say.
No, hey, we're uncensored here, my
Okay.
friend.
So it's like something about, like, "I'm sorry you're away from your loved ones. If you come to my tent, I'll give you a hand job," or something like that. I can't remember. We're all like, "What is wrong with this dude, man?" But like,
You can tell it's just not a joke.
yeah. But like, if I had written it and given it to somebody, everybody would, "Oh yeah, it's Bain," you know.
That's awesome. That was probably one of the better ones you got then, huh?
Yeah.
So at this point, you'd already been in 10 years then, right?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah, I had already been, like, to multiple countries, Albania, Korea. At least those two.
Yeah.
I know I've been more than that. I can't remember if El Salvador might have been before that. Central America. I don't think so, though.
So you'd already re-enlisted then at least once, right? Maybe twice?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yes. So you're allowed to, back then, I don't know how it is now, you could take a bonus one time. And they didn't offer them a lot to reservists, but this time they did. And I took the bonus. So the way they give you the bonus, it's something like 50% up front, and then they parse it out over the rest of your enlistment. But if you ever get out before that enlistment is over, you have to pay all that shit back. And I was so unhappy during that time. I don't know why. I can't remember why. But I was unhappy, and the whole time all I could think of was, I can't get out. Because if I do, I got to pay all that money back. And it wasn't a lot, but back then it was.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, it may have been $10K or something like that, if that. And I'm like, man, fuck this. Fuck the Marine Corps. Fuck this place. Fuck these people. You know, I'd like go to drill and just sulk.
Yeah.
You know, I would take everything out on every other Marine. But yeah, so I had re-enlisted. Yep.
So your actual prep work to get ready to go over for the invasion was just a month then? Or,
Yeah,
wow.
it was fairly minimal. Like when we got to California, most of it was issuing us desert camis, taking our shots, and they issued us. We did some chemical warfare training, and they issued us these NBC suits, and we were at Camp Horno, and literally across the street from Camp Horno is a mountain called the Microwave. And then on the backside of Camp Horno is another mountain that's not so big as big as the microwave, but it's pretty big. And we're all motivated. We're like, hey, we're going to go do a hump, Marines. We're gonna hump up this freaking mountain, and we're going to put all our NBC gear on. We're going to have masks. We're going, we used to call it mop level ding dong. That's everything. We're going mop level ding dong. Let's get that. So we didn't make it probably 3/4 of a mile up that freaking hill. And you just start seeing Marines are dropping shit, which in the Marine Corps, losing gear is a mortal freaking sin.
Yeah.
And they didn't care. Everybody's dropping shit. And I'm up front, and I look over at my platoon guide, and I'm like, this is pretty bad, dude. And he's like, yeah, maybe we need to give him a break. So we turn around to go to give them a break, and they've all got their masks off. You just see this trail of gear down the hill. We're like, all right, maybe we need to build up to this. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was about the only training we got.
So what were your emotions like going into Kuwait? Like when you didn't really have time to think about it.
Not too much. It wasn't.
Worried at all, or
No, not really.
Good.
Not at that time at all. I don't think really worry hit until like the first scud drills. Like we got there and immediately they formed us with an active duty battalion, and we got in there. We kind of started melding with them, figuring things out, because like working at the battalion level as a company is not something that me as Sergeant Bain had ever seen or known to do. So we were learning how to operate within the battalion, and then they started tasking us out to build bunkers. So literally every day we were going out and building bunkers through the different camps. Like I can't even remember the name of all the camps, but we would go out and we'd do that, and then we started bartering for stuff we didn't have. Like, hey man, we can add a little bit extra to this bunker, or we can give you a sheet of plywood, and we'd get one of the big things back then was the goggles. These big green goggles that they used in Desert Storm. Like, we're gonna need those for sandstorms and stuff. Because we had all, on our gear list was like a cheap pair of sunglasses to wear to help with that. So we were trying to barter for these goggles, and then squad stoves, a little jet fuel type stove, like a camp stove, and we would use that to make coffee and stuff. So we did that, and then right around, I don't know, probably second week, right around St. Patrick's Day, we started getting scuds and artillery fire, long-range artillery fire, and the very first time we had this short Hispanic Marine in our platoon. My platoon guy decided that it would be funny. I wear size 9. This guy had like a size 6 boot, and he thought it'd be funny to switch our boots around. Just so happens that night we get a freaking scud alarm. So I'm trying to put these boots on, and my feet won't go in the boots. In the meantime, my whole platoon, or 2 platoons, are running out of this tent, which it's a circus tent. It's like a couple 100 feet long.
right?
We had 100 and some odd people in that tent, and they're just running by me, and I'm trying to put my boots on, and I can't. And my platoon guy's screaming at me, "Come on, babe! Come on, babe! Come on, babe!" So I'm like hobbling in these boots out to the bunker. And when I get out there, he's the only one laughing. But you could hear a fucking pin drop in there. And one of the Marines was like, "Please don't let me die. I have a family." It was like, oh, shut the fuck up, man. We don't need that shit. And then we're sitting there, we're taking accountability, and we're missing one Marine. And we didn't have we had porta potties at the time. We're missing one Marine. We're looking, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? So I stick my head out of the bunker and I scream his name, and you hear from inside one of the porta potties, "I'm in here." But, yeah. And then from there, it was pretty much every few hours.
So,
just start taking
for
shit.
a viewer that doesn't know what a Scud missile is, can you talk about what those were?
Well, it's a big yellow rocket that has a explosive warhead on the end. It's about the size of probably the length of about two and a half school buses.
Wow.
And I mean, we were sitting there one day. So after the first time, it was like I had quit smoking. I had smoked in high school a little bit, and I had quit. I was like, yeah, I think I'll have a cigarette now. You know, and we're sitting on top of the bunker having a cigarette one night, me and my platoon commander, talking about, I don't know, whatever. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we just see sand in front of us because we could see over the berm. Just, what the hell was that? And then a little bit closer. Is that a fucking lizard? What the fuck is that? And then one got a little closer, and you heard it like, boom. He's like, I think we're getting arty, man. Go get the boys. All right, I'll go get the boys. There was another time we were sitting out, and I remember the chow hall, they contracted food out, and the chow hall gave us these sandwiches that had like a Jack Link's beef stick on it, folded in half. And we were all fucking around calling them camel dick sandwiches. And we had already loaded everything up to push forward, so we didn't have any electricity. And the CO and the XO, they wanted us to give haircuts, one last haircut before we go. We're like, okay, how are we going to do that? They literally had these manual clippers that you squeeze like scissors or like yard shears, and that's how we were cutting people's hair. So I'm out there cutting a dude's hair, and a guy is sitting next to me waiting to get his hair cut, and he's complaining about eating a camel dick sandwich. And then all of a sudden, this sound like a 54 Buick missing a cylinder, dude. You just hear whoop, bump, 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 bump. And I remember all three of us look up, and there's this big yellow thing. How it was in the air going this fucking slow is beyond me, because it was just like, it looked like it took a minute for it to go by us. And we're all just sitting there watching it go by. And finally, it goes out of our sight. And one of us just screams, Scud! You go, get all your shit and go to the bunker. But that was the only Scud I saw, or we saw. Everything else, all the other, they also had frog missiles, we called them. They were a smaller version of them. We saw a bunch of those, but they were all on the side of the road after we had pushed through, so
Right.
invaded.
Gotcha. So you guys, how long were you there at the first deployment?
That's a good question. So we got there late January, early February, and we were home before the 4th of July because we did a real big 4th of July parade in South Bend. So right around then.
So you were
June.
You were there for the initial invasion then?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were D plus. We were supposed to be D+1, which is a day after the ground troop or infantry pushes through. Something kept happening. They kept pushing us back, and I think we ended up being like D2, D3, D+3. Yeah. So we first got into Iraq, and it was funny because like in Kuwait, when we traveled from camp to camp, there was a big community of Bedouins. It was something they would do for their religion. They'd go out and live like their ancestors did, and they'd herd camels. They had these Bedouin tents, but then they'd have like a Mercedes 500 sitting out there in front of this tent with their Bedouin. Either way, they were doing it. And when we go through the berm, there's two berms separating the countries, and you go through the first berm and there's just nothing. Then the second berm, and it is just wild camels. everywhere. It was a pretty cool sight. And then we got through the camels, and it was just nothing. It looked like Tatooine from Star Wars, where it's just desolate, shit's blowing. Like the only house I remember us seeing was maybe 3 feet above ground, and then the rest of it was below grade. And these people, they were like literally from head to toe covered in black garb. I don't know why you choose black out in the heat, but they did. And we stopped on the way, we're going down, and there were these lizards there that would stand about this tall off the ground, and they're like that big, like their bodies are like that big. So I had this fucking harebrained idea. I'm going to catch us a lizard, and it's going to be our platoon mascot. So we stop, and we're taking a break there for a second, and I get out of the vehicle, and I go walking out, take a leak, and all of a sudden out of this hole comes this freaking lizard. And I'm like, hey everybody, there's my lizard. I'm going to get this lizard. So I had this freaking thing rigged up already, like a slip knot for a leash and everything. I pull it out, and I'm like, hey little guy, come here, you know. And this thing, I got about 2 feet away from this thing, and he looked pretty fat. And then all of a sudden he like raised his stomach up. He was like super flat, it got real wide, and just hissed at me. And I was like, oh, I don't think he likes me, you know. And all of a sudden he takes off running at me. I turn around, I take off running, and I'm running back to the truck, and you hear everybody laughing. Because this thing's about the size of a small dog, and I can hear him behind me just and I'm running my ass off, and I hear people, run, Bain! Ah, you're gonna get bit by a lizard! I jump up onto the step of the truck, and that fucker bit the step of the truck, and then just stood there and hissing at me. I think there's a picture of it in here, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Those things run on 2 feet too, right? Like two legs?
No, it stayed on 4, but I gave up that idea after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we pushed in. We drove that whole day well into the night to get to our. We didn't even reach it that first day. We were going to build the very first base camp for logistical stuff coming in, and we stopped, and there was an oil well burning off on, I don't know, just a little bit away, maybe 500 meters, something like that. And we sat there and we slept that night. Got a couple hours of sleep. Got up in the morning, and there were people there working on the well when we woke up. And then we went in. We moved away to where we were going to build the objective, and we had the worst sandstorm come through. Like, I would barely be able to see you. Yeah. And we had helicopters flying around. We had reports of enemy vehicle activity coming in through the area. So everybody's freaking out. And in the middle of this, it's a pretty tense time. And in the middle of this, one of our Marines decides our sleeping bags have a Gore-Tex liner on the outside of them. He takes that Gore-Tex liner off of his sleeping bag and ties some string to it, and he tries to fly it like a kite, and it works. And it looks like this big old green camouflage dick flying in the air. And you could see it. You can't see nothing else, but you could see this big green dick over there. And everybody's laughing. We're all looking out, trying to find an Iraqi vehicle, and all of a sudden you're, hey, look at that. You look back, and there it is, and everybody starts laughing. And as soon as they start laughing, it catches up enough wind, it just blows away. So you see it, like the Marine's just standing there, and all of a sudden it just takes off, and you just see it going flying through the air. But then, like, the helicopter landed safely. we didn't see the Iraqi vehicle, and I think we were only there a day or two. And then we pushed forward. It was right about the time of the Battle of Nasiriyah is when we got to our next objective. We had to do some road repairs, built up a couple defensive positions, and we fortified some other areas. And like we could see the battle. I think it was the Battle of Nasiriyah off in the distance, because we're sitting there. It was cold as hell too at this time. As we were sitting there, we'd be sitting there with the poncho liners, sleeping bags, all our cold weather gear on, in the middle of the night, trying to keep watch and everything. And then from there, we moved up to the day before we moved. Another company, one of our sister companies, moved up, and they took fire. They had hostile activities at the time. We moved up. We didn't see anything, nothing. Well, then we're driving up, and we're supposed to be going to make the next logistics base. And at the time, we had personal GPSs, and we had a one vehicle for a whole company had a Blue Force tracker on it, which is the military's GPS. So we got the spot marked, and we're convoying up this road, and all of a sudden we start seeing LAVs, Amtraks, and they're all sitting on the sides of the roads, and you see Marines, the back decks are off down on the Amtraks, and there's Marines out, and they're just staring at us, and we're all like, yeah, and like, hey, get some, guys, you're all getting some. And we pass through, and you see them all looking at us like we got dicks growing out of our foreheads, like, what are these idiots doing? And sure as shit, man, you just see like a 500-pound bomb just blows up in front of us. Some kind of munition blows up in front of us. So all of a sudden, everybody herringbones, you just see, and come to find out they hadn't captured that area that we were supposed to be moving to yet. So we ended up going back. We went like a little bit in front of the front line at the time. So we had to pull a U-turn and go back, which is why the grunts were there. So we go back and slept with the grunts, got up in the morning, and they were moving. And then we were able to get to where we were going. At that time, they were telling us about like what to look for, chemical weapons signs and everything. So we were clearing buildings that looked like what we had in our intel books and everything. And then the infantry, they would capture Iraqi soldiers, and they'd corral them somewhere, and then they'd call and they'd leave them, but they'd put them in a protective fence, concertina wire fence. And so we'd pick them up and take them somewhere else or guard them, and then we'd go through their shit, and if they had munitions, we'd blow the munitions up. And that was the first time we got mail. And when it came, the first day, we're all sitting there. We had set the bivouac up. We had started pushing berms for the area, and this ISO container shows up, and only like a handful of us got mail. And I got this package from my wife that had 2 Code Red Mountain Dews in it and a 1-pound bag of peanut M&Ms. So I got the box. I didn't know what was in it, so I take it straight to my tent and open it up. I saw what it was. I took my e-tool out because it was real warm during the days. I dug a hole a couple feet deep, and I buried all of it. So I go back a couple hours later. I dig it up. I tell all the Marines to line up. You couldn't have formations because that was a bad thing. You get blown up. One explosion killed 50 people. So I'd have them all line up in the general area. And I pulled out those Code Red Mountain Dews and let them all have a sip. Let them have a handful of peanut M&Ms. And you just saw their faces. It was like a fat kid eating cake, man. Big old smile. And then the next day, it was like a dam broke. We got all kinds of mail. It was like a problem. It was so much mail.
Yeah.
And then it came time to, like, we were getting ready to move. I don't know who told people, but it was like every person sent us a bag of hard candy. Peppermints, cinnamons, mixed candies, Jolly Ranchers. And we're all like, what are we going to do with all this? Well, people also were sending us quart-sized Ziploc bags for waterproofing our stuff. So we started just filling the quart-sized bags. They're like, hey, we're going out on PR missions and stuff too. So while we're out there, we'll hand them to the kids. So we did that, and it turned into a frenzy. One kid got it, and it was like all of a sudden there was like originally 4 kids in this little area, and you're like, oh, hey, have some candy. They'd run back, and then like 100 kids had come out and just screaming, and they, Mista. So, you know, we'd give candy out and everything. But you go through, and we went to the next place. It was an air base. It had a runway, and Camp Chesty is what it was called. And so there we had to help build a field hospital there. And right about this time, my dates might be messed up, but this is the start of Baghdad during this time. I want to say we stayed at the last camp. I think it was called Camp Anderson for about a week or so. And the start of Baghdad was happening. So we were moving through, we were doing the same thing, you know, clearing out areas that the infantry had gone through, looking for munitions and all of that. And we were starting to do fortifying the runway, and there was a concrete plant right down the road. So we went through there, but there was also a Iraqi tank battalion base. So we went through there, we cleared all of that out. And part of that mission, they didn't have enough people to take people off of the planes or the helicopters coming in, the injured. So we were bringing Marines off, injured Marines, captured. We brought off a couple Iraqi generals, captured Iraqi generals. The only KIA we saw, we brought off was from Baghdad. We brought off the helicopter there. And we had a Marine, one of the generals, they were wearing coveralls. It was a tanker outfit is what it's called, but they were coveralls. And underneath their freaking coveralls, you unzip it, and the dude's got a Bermuda shirt and khaki shorts on, or something like that, and a pocket full of American money. So they were getting ready to make their fucking break, you know, and they got caught. Well, one of them was injured. Like, his arm was damn near destroyed. They ended up putting this halo around him on it. Well, he wanted to get defiant after he had his surgery, and I had a Marine in there. He comes and gets me. He's like, hey, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, well, and I walk in there with him, and the dude's lipping off. Even though we can't understand each other, you know, he's speaking one language, I'm speaking another. I know he's not saying nice things about me right now at this moment, you know, and he's being quite arrogant about it. And so I'm trying to motion to him to lay down, and he's pretty much telling me, go fuck myself. And the younger Marine's like, well, what do I do? So at the bottom of our rifles is the butt stock of it. And on the butt plate, it looks like a waffle pattern. So I would tell him, waffle plate him. He's like, what? Waffle plate him. And so he fucking picks up his rifle and just boom, bops him right in the forehead. And that dude, he just flops, like no control over his body, flops. And this arm that's got that halo gets all twisted, and he starts screaming. But it was hilarious to see the Marine like, I can do that? Well, yeah, he's a captive. But also during that time, our HE Motor T guys, they went out to do a PR thing, and they went out to clean up a playground. So they're using dozers to push dirt around on this playground, and they hit an artillery shell. So they call out all of us and everything, and we go out there, and we end up digging up like, it was massive. It was like 200, 300 artillery shells. So we're sitting there like, well, okay, we got to destroy this. We're trying to figure out like where to destroy it at, what the safe standoff is. So we end up putting it at the far side of this tank base, and we set up the charges, which we're sitting there trying to figure out how much of a sympathetic charge do we need to, and we're like, P equals plenty. Whatever we had, we were putting on there, and we're lacing it all through. And we literally went back to our base camp at Chesty, which is like 2 or 3 miles away, and initiated it. And it was the biggest boom I've ever seen in my life. One of my Marines, actually, one of the Marines I just saw the other day, we were talking about it. He's like, yeah, I remember my teeth rattling when that thing went on. But from there, we were there for a couple weeks. It was a while. And there were a few battles we could watch from there. We weren't involved in them. During that time, too, we had like reporters from Rolling Stone, USA Today. It was a whole junket of like 30 reporters that we got tasked with. We went into, we were taking, during Desert Storm, they had defectors that came over, and they were acting as interpreters this time. But one of the interpreters, he was like a day away from his village, so we took him there, and we took all these damn reporters with us. So Rangel, he was talking about being in Alcoot and clearing bridges and everything. Yeah, we were right there when that happened. We're sitting there waiting for them to clear the bridge because we needed to get across the bridge onto the other side, because one of the stops we were supposed to make was a Bath Party headquarters, and then a party like hotel or something, resort. And so, they spend a little while doing that, and then they move through. So we go in like almost right after them, and there's still people in the resort. So I think there were still infantry units there taking them captive. So we went to the Bath Party headquarters, and we go in, and it was, I don't know, it was like an office building like you would see in any city. But then behind it, there were these rooms off in the side, like a outbuilding or a shed type looking thing, and it had like, each room had a bunch of doors and a kind of like a window or something, and one was a torture chamber. It was a stainless steel table, and it had blood in all over it. Like, you leave hamburger out for a good long day, hot day, and that's what it smelled like, or close to. And then like another room, it was all chemical equipment for, and then I can't remember the name of their Royal Guard. They had a special names, but it was like all their equipment, helmets and shit like that. And then there were people inside the building burning paperwork when we went in there. Then we got to go see the resort, and it was like something out of Vegas almost.
Really?
Yeah, a real big, like you walked into the entrance, and it was like a real big rotunda, real ornate, gold and everything in it, and had a fountain in it. Wasn't working at that time because, got blown up. But then from there, we moved down to wherever he was at. I can't remember. It took us a good long day. And when we got there, like there was stuff going on all around us, and we missed it all. And we get down there, and his family was so happy. Like, we walk in, now we're in this dingy ass fucking desert, man. Okay, like this, there's no foliage around anywhere. Like, there's a half dead tree, you might pass every now and then. And we walked into his family's house, and it was like a clean freak here was taking care of it. It was white. The carpet, they had like area rugs, you know, and then they would sit on pillows, and everything was fucking spotless. And they had cold water. They gave us cold water. It was heavenly. We're sitting there and we're talking with his family, or he's talking with his family, and we're listening, and he's telling us what's being said. We left him there for the night to spend with his family. And we went to a camp and hung out, and they were so happy that we did it. It caused a huge ruckus in the village. So we decided that wasn't a good idea to do that anymore. Right. So we had just a couple people go get him and then bring him back. And so we went and met up at this checkpoint, and his family was so happy that they had cooked a lamb for us. And then it was lamb, a whole lamb, like the whole fucking lamb, and then rice. And this rice was made with like ginger and sugar, and it was good. It was delicious.
Sounds
and then
good.
pitas, these pitas were like this big around, man. And so we're sitting there, we didn't have utensils, you know, so we're taking like K-bars and gnawing off a piece of lamb and taking the pita and grabbing some rice and eating it. It was pretty good. But then we go back to Chesty that day, and we ended up moving forward to our final spot, Diwania. And while we were moving forward, we got all those bags of candy still. And, oh wait, I gotta go back one. So, you know, I'm telling you all this little stuff that we were doing, trying to keep things interesting, you know. We decided, somebody got a game of Uno in the mail. So we were playing Uno all the time. So somebody decided that we should play cutthroat Uno, $1 a point. I'm thinking, well, how bad can that be? Okay, I'm in. Yeah, I lost $300 in a cutthroat Uno game.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, how the fuck am I going to get money? It's not like I can shit cash right here, you know? And they're like, you know what? Dispensing just opened down there. Go get it. So I had to walk to the dispensing and get the damn money and bring it back to him. Wow. And I was like, and then I had to write a letter because I couldn't call. Babe, I just lost $300. This check's going to be a little short.
Of all things.
Yeah. It was a bad game of Uno, babe. But after that, you know, we're pushing over to Diwania, and we got all those bags of candy. And there's this village off in the distance. And as we're driving, these kids start come running out. And you just see Marines stand up in the back of these trucks and start launching these bags. I think at first they were just trying to get the bags to them. And then after a while, they might have been aiming for them, because I look back and I see this kid running, and you know he's in a robe, and he's running, and all of a sudden I see this bag of candy hit this kid, and he just tumbles, man. Just dust cloud, candy going everywhere. They're like, hey guys, don't do that. Don't do that. We're not winning hearts and minds that way. And so then we got to Diwania. It was a college campus. Literally, the infantry had just pulled out. Like, they pulled out, we pulled in. So we go in, and I'll show you later, but that's where we go into this lab. It was a laboratory. We go in like a chemist lab, and it's all on fire. There's papers everywhere, and I got this banner. We took two things out of there. It was a banner of Saddam, and it says something about how great Saddam is. And then we thought it was a teaching certificate. It looked like a 1950s teaching certificate in America. It had a picture, it's a bunch of Arabic, and then a picture rubber cemented onto the damn certificate. So we just took it. We had a guy from Syria that could read Arabic. So he got, as soon as they found that out when we were in Kuwait, they're like, you're coming with us. So he ended up getting pulled to help with interrogations and stuff. So like we're gonna hold this until and see what it says once we see him. Well, during that time we went to the lost city of Babylon. Well, it wasn't lost; they found it, but we went to Babylon, and we got to go through that. While we were there, we had a bunch of kids bugging us for candy, and we didn't have any with us. I don't know if you remember Listerine strips, you know.
Yeah.
So back then, that's what I would, instead of candy, I would have a Listerine strip or an Altoid strip or whatever. And so I'm sitting there, I'm guarding the vehicles while everybody's taking pictures or something. And all these kids are coming up to me and, oh, please, candy, Mr. Dollar, $1. I ain't got any money. I lost it in freaking Uno, buddy. So, but you know what I do have is I have Listerine strips. So I pull it out. As soon as I pull it out, they get real quiet, like they don't know what it is. And I hand each one of them a Listerine strip. And during this time, all the Marines are coming back, getting loaded in the vehicles. They're like, all right, come on, let's go. I get in the vehicle, we start moving, and I look back, and one of the biggest kids there grabs all the Listerine strips from everybody and throws them in his mouth. You see, like 1 second later, he's going, ah! Serve you right, you little fucker. And so we get back, and we had to go hook up with a Navy SEAL guarding a bank. And there was only, I think, 4 or 5 of us. And we go through, and this section of the town of Diwania is just gutted. It's pretty much building shells everywhere. And we're trying to find which building this dude's in. Like it's not like there's a bank sign, anywhere.
Right.
So we find him. He's up on the roof, and it's only one dude sitting there. And we're like, what are you doing here? We had to take him water and food and some other, I think, ammo. And he's like, yeah, I'm guarding this bank, man. I'm like, why are you guarding this bank? It's fucking empty. There's nothing in here, It's literally just charred. And he's like, oh, yeah, there's something in here. He takes us down in the basement, and it's like a hallway. And it's got 8 doors, something like that. And you open up one side, and it's all AK-47s, RPGs, RPKs, all still in cosmoline. When they first produce the weapon, they wrap it in this grease,
Yep.
and then put it in plastic. That's what it was. And it's just like a pallet of them in each room. And then on this side, there you open up the doors, and it's a pallet of fucking cash, like American money. Then the next one was Iraqi money. It's like, okay, we see what you're guarding. So then from there, right there, that's where we got more mail. We were able to make a phone call. That was the first time we were able to make a phone call. And we all got like a 2 or 3 minute phone call. So they decided they're going to pull us out from there. So before we get ready to leave, they're like, you have to do a health and comfort inspection on everybody. But we don't want you doing an inspection on your own people. So we all swapped. And at this time we had, I forgot how many companies staying on the campus. But they decide they're going to have me go inspect all the female Marines' rooms. You're looking for grenades, guns, weapons, any kind of weapon, RPGs. Now, these people knew that this was going to happen, all right? So I go up, and I'm like, all right, ladies, let's go. I'm explain how it's going to go, and I do a normal inspection fashion, and I walk into the first room, and in a sea bag is an RPG just sticking out with some dirty drawers hanging on it. And I'm like, you can't keep this. This was going to happen. So we found a barrel. I made them go get a barrel, and we filled that fucking barrel with nothing but weapons that these ladies had, like AK-47s. I was like, what are you guys doing with this stuff?
Souvenirs, man.
Yeah. But
Wow.
so then, we did that, and then we ended up flying. They brought in CH-53s, our ops chief. So during this time, they did what was it called? Some kind of hold on the Marines that were going to retire or get out. They were like, "No, you're not. You're staying in."
Stop loss.
So he was stop loss. That's it. And he was one of them. Our ops chief was Master Sergeant, and he was telling us stories about, "Hey, I'll do anything here as long as I don't have to fly in a helicopter, because I've crashed in like 7 or 8 helicopters." And we're like, "Yeah, I don't want to be on your helicopter." So how are they going to get us out of there? Helicopter. So they call us, "Hey, this is what you're going to leave. You're leaving on this date. This is your stick, yada, yada." Here they come in, man, 53s. And he's like, and he's just going off. So me and a buddy thought this was funny. And I don't know, I probably have pictures of it. But we made signs. And now, there was only one Marine that had digital camera back then, at that time. So all of us have those old film cameras, the disposables, and so he sits next to him. We get in this helicopter, take off, and they are doing something called mapping the terrain. So they're going up and down, because in this area there was actual palm trees and hills, and we were right in the river basin. So they're going through, man, mapping it around, going around. And the whole time, this Marine is holding up signs. This helicopter is about to fall out of the sky. This will be Master Sergeant's crash number 10. But then they landed us, I think at an airfield in Al Kut, and then flew us out to Kuwait. And we were in Kuwait for maybe 3 weeks. And then, cleaning gear. We expended all kinds of ordnance that we had left over. And that was about it.
So for that first deployment, it was relatively calm as far as your guys' end?
Yeah, everywhere we went, something happened like the day before or the day after, but we never...
That's good. Yeah.
There may have been one time, I want to say, that we probably drew weapons, but we never fired weapons.
So before you went back the second time, did you have to re-enlist again?
I want to say yes, I did, because that would have put me at like 12 years or something, so I would say so.
And so was it because of the way that first deployment went that you were like, okay, I want to go back and do this again?
No, actually, one of my mentors in the Marines, when I came home, I was like, fuck this, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
I thought that, I was going to go see greener pastures. I was going to run for town council. I had other plans. And so I made the call, told one of my mentors, like, hey, man, I think I'm pulling chocks. I'm getting out. And he's like, I don't know. He said something to touch my heartstrings, and I stayed in. And I don't regret it. I loved it. But
Of course.
I mean, once I got out of that one enlistment where I had the bonus, life was great. Especially, I got field promoted in Iraq during the invasion. I went from sergeant to staff sergeant, and once I learned, like, I could really say a whole lot of things that I couldn't say at a younger rank, and I got to talk to officers more often, or be more of an advisor to officers, I guess I should say. And so it was a little more rewarding.
For sure.
So
Definitely. So did you have to go anywhere between the two deployments?
yeah, Central America. I did El Salvador, Honduras, Panama during that time. Probably Korea also.
What were you doing in Central America
So
or South America?
we do a lot of typhoon type buildings, earthquake buildings, do community centers. So like in El Salvador, where our job site was, we were like the furthest job site away from the base camp. We literally had to fly in. We couldn't, it was like a day and a half convoy to get to where we were at. But it was a place where it was literally the battle line for a civil war where we were at. We had to have Marines demine like where we were staying at down to the job site so we could put comm wires in. We literally, one of our officers had 2 people come together that were on opposite sides during the Civil War and talk to each other. And while they're talking, one of the Civil War groups is driving around in a truck with a big ass speaker. The group was FMLN, FAMALANA, and they had this chant that went with it. So they went through while they're talking about, oh yeah, that night I might have been the one that shot you, or we did this and did that. And we would do classes or do briefs up in a burnout church from the Civil War. And we built a community center there. Honduras, we went to, it was a poor community, and they had already had a community center in this area, and we put a clinic in the back behind it. And Panama was the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you enjoy your time out there?
Oh yeah, it was fun. Panama was really cool because some of the job sites we'd go to, we were pretty far ahead of the other units and their job sites, so we would go help them. And like one of them, you could look out over this valley and you could hear howler monkeys jumping around and yelling at each other. And we did McMap training in Panama. Like we went through a river at spiders this big, man.
Jeez.
Enormous. And we were going through the river. We're doing our final test on it, or exercise for it. We had iguana while we were in Panama. It was pretty good.
Nice. So then you get geared up for the second deployment, right?
Yeah.
What was your train up like for that? And
Well, it really started in 2005. I think the idea, at that time they had a deployment cycle and they kind of knew, but things would get moved a lot. Like we probably should have mobilized sooner, but maybe our manpower wasn't up or something,
Right.
So we got moved back to when we did go. So I'd say the train ups started, I want to say we started getting, well, really even after 2003, we were constantly sending individual Marines or maybe a fire team at a time to deploy. But then in 2006, that's when we went as a whole company. And probably the year prior, we were paying a lot attention to what's going on in that area. And so we were learning a lot of stuff. But then like the route clearance, we knew IEDs was a problem. We knew that, armor was short and they were working on getting things armored and figuring out how to defeat the IEDs. We didn't know that our mission was going to be to clear the IEDs at the time. So once we did find that, we were able to, we went to the schoolhouse for it in Fort Leonard Wood. The Army had a schoolhouse and we went through that, and then from there, I mean, it was, compared to the first time to that time, it was 1,000 times more intense in the training, the procedural
right.
that we followed through, the communication, everything. It was a lot more intense.
So you knew that like the insurgency part of this was starting, right? Before you went out there, and it was
Yeah, we had a couple Marines that had during their deployments had served in Fallujah, so we kind of knew what was going on at the time.
Were you a little more, I guess, well, it doesn't seem like you worry too much, but when you went back the second time, was it a little more serious for you before you left?
Yeah. There was, you start making the kill rosters, which everybody's assigned a random number, and you're putting blood types and names. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you get there for the second deployment?
Let's see here. August of 2006.
Gotcha. And where'd you start out at, and talk us through that deployment?
Camp Tecodum, or Al Tecodum. It was an old air base. If you remember seeing the videos of them digging up airplanes, like whole MiG jets, that was Al Tecodum.
Got it.
And like literally, they were still there when we got there. We had where our camp was and where the chow hall was. We called it the Brown Mile. We had a trail there, and it had old MiG jets and old bombers that they had dug out of the ground there along that. So, yeah, we got there, and literally, I want to say the first night, because we got into the camp in the evening, when we landed, and then we got to our camp, our area at night. And I want to say, I'm pretty sure we took fire that night. So indirect fire, not. And then we were there maybe 5 days.
What were you doing there mostly?
And route clearance.
Yeah.
Well, we were doing, call it the RIP, replace in place, something in place. So we do a right seat, left seat, and we go in and we see how they're doing things, see how they're operating, what they've seen. You know, it's a handoff, and then we go out on a mission with them. And when we first got there, I volunteered our platoon for going on the first missions, and the CO said, all right. And so we did the briefs and everything, and we go out with them, and we get outside the wire, and literally the route that we're going down, it's got OPs on it, just lined with OPs every so many couple clicks or so. And I want to say we were a click away from the first OP, and we saw an explosion. And then, you know, they told us a medevac was coming through. So we literally, a route clearance mission, we have like every light known to man on our vehicle pointing at everything so we can try to see the IEDs. So we turned all that stuff down so they could, and when they drove by, we could see the dude in the back. He had no legs and he was in shock. But then when we got back, we found out he didn't make it. They use a code word, let you know that you're not allowed to communicate with the outside. They shut the communications off. So like all the communication centers where people can email or write home, all that gets turned off until the family gets notified of what happened. And then once they get notified, they resume the communications. And then, I mean, like, we see that. Then the next IED was a man-initiated IED, which was a like like a napalm type thing. They would put fuel in it and some other things to make it stick to the vehicles because the Carc paint on the vehicles were real flammable. We chased bad guys that night. I mean, it was an eventful night. Let's just say that.
So talk us through that night from the earliest point that you remember, and
Well, you know, so in order to go out, give me a second. Let me clear my throat here. Don't know what you're missing, man. So it starts off, you know, you let everybody know what's happening. So they know they got to start gearing their stuff up personally, you know, down squad levels, fire team, and person. And then you go, you have to brief what you're going to do, how you're going to conduct the mission, your tactics. If shit hits the fan, this is what I'm doing. If this doesn't work, we're going to fucking bypass that and we're going to do it this way. You do that. It's a couple hour process for the higher ups of the mission. And then you start, you know, you're getting everything together, getting food, all the supplies and everything. And that, so it's, I would say it was like 8 hours before the mission started. You're getting everything together, and the mission's already started before the mission started.
Right.
You know? And then once you get that, you do, you know, you got comm checks. You go out. There's an area right before you leave the wire where you load your weapons, and you go hot, and then you go out and you go on the move and conduct the mission. And then that mission that night was probably 12 hours long. It was one of the shorter ones, but because all the action that happened, you're stopping and you got to do everything. You have to react to everything and follow through with it. So it was a long one. I know we started whenever evening chow was, we literally did chow, got in the vehicles, and stepped off. Right? No, it was dark. So right at dark is when we got out the wire. And then when we got back, it was sun up. So
Yeah, so long.
it was a while. And that wasn't even our longest mission.
What do you remember from that one specifically, though, as far as like things that happened?
Just thinking, well, first off, like the dudes that we were with, that we were relief in place. That's what RIP means. What we were relieving, they were high fucking strong, man. Like, if a grain of sand was out of place, that like they were on it. And our vehicle commanders from the other unit, they were bouncing around, like not just communicating, they're communicating in the vehicle, outside the vehicle, and reporting. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm like, hey dude, how are you like this? To our vehicle commander that I was replacing, and he pulls out diet pills, Stacker 2 Stingers, I think is what they were called, and they came in these little vials of 3 pills each, and he had them in his Molly webbing, just like loaded up, and then cans of Mountain Dew. And I was like, man, I really hope I don't have to do that stuff. And I'd say about a week later, there I am. I was drinking coffee, Mountain Dew, and had some Stacker 2s in my shit, because the missions, they were long, and you needed to be alert, and it was a lot of monotony followed by very little action. Mm-hmm. But when there was action, it was a lot of action.
What was the first engagement that you remember?
Well, man, that's the problem. I don't remember a lot of them anymore, but I would say the first time, because we got to go out on the first engagement was, there was a town outside called Caladia, and we go rolling out and go down the route, and we get into this town, and we called it Little Afghanistan because it was a known bed for insurgents coming from other countries. That's where they stayed, was there. And we're driving down the road, all our faces are down, looking at the ground for IEDs. And you just see like light come by, and it was it didn't activate, an RPG. Just comes skidding, it comes flying through and skids across the ground and just lands like a fucking dead dick, just laying there. And I remember like everybody's like, holy shit, it starts freaking out, and then but nothing else happened.
Right.
So that was, and then we go down, we keep carrying on, we have EOD handle the RPG, and then we start moving down, and we get through an area, like we pass a couple mosques, and it was nothing, and then we find our first IED, and it was a pressure plate IED, and we go out, get it. It was all, literally, they make it look like a speed bump, and then they put a pressure plate on top of it. So the idea is the infantry, what they would do was speed was their friend. Mm-hmm. So they'd haul ass as fast as they could. They run that over. It's going to blow. If it hits a Humvee, it's going to flip the Humvee and hurt a lot of people inside. So that was probably the first time. Then Fallujah, when we went through Fallujah, the very first night we were going to Camp Fallujah from our camp, and as soon as we got over the new bridge, I don't think we made it, I don't know, probably a couple 100 meters in. Well, actually, as soon as we come over the new bridge, I'm in the third vehicle of our formation, and the vehicle I'm in, it's called the Buffalo, is like a school bus almost. And so I can see down, and here comes this Humvee, unmarked. So I think it was an Iraqi Humvee, comes, and he's drives through the convoy, our formation, and he's dragging concertina wire in the vehicle. We're like, what the fuck is going on? But then nothing else. And we try calling, see what's going on, if there's any actions around us we need to know about. And there was actions north. Well, we get down into the city, and once we get into there, there were wires hanging over the roads, and they would lower the wires so our antennas would get stuck on them. And the lead vehicle slows down to make sure they can clear some of those wires. And he got lit up. Like, it was like as soon as he slowed down, they're looking at the wires, and it was boom, and he looked like a scarecrow. Now it's like one of those inflatable things where that's what he looked like, man. I thought he's done for, But we saw him, he drops down out of the turret. And he ended up being okay. Somebody else popped up, took his place for a minute. Once he got his wits about him, he got back up in it. And then, we took fire through there, and it was funny because we finally get to Camp Fallujah, and we're in there, and we go meet up with these people that we're supposed to meet, and the officers, the staff and officers, they have this place out back that's these old, like picnic tables, round picnic tables, and they got an steel umbrella on them. We go back there, and we're sitting there, we're sipping near beer, because you're not allowed to drink alcohol there. So I would never drink alcohol. And so we're sitting there drinking near beer, and I guess we'd seen more shit before that. We were smoking cigars because we'd talked about some other stuff. I don't remember it though, I'm sorry. And they had these artillery rounds, the rocket-assisted wraparounds, rocket-assisted projectiles. They went off. Me and my CO and the other Marines from my company, we fucking take cover like something's coming in. And they're laughing at us. Oh, you silly fucks, it's a fucking outgoing. And we're like, shit, we didn't know that, But, I mean, we had done some, because there was a area, like with the 24th Marines, that was a cut from one route over into another route. And we had seen some stuff there, like right outside where the infantry was right there. There was a checkpoint. Right outside their checkpoint, we had some issues there.
Like what?
Just some insurgents in a building decided they started popping off rounds. They were in the middle of setting an IED when we had come through, and they dropped the IED probably 10 meters off the road, so they didn't even make it. So they were pretty much trying to set up an ambush on us, and we broke it up and moved through. But yeah, I don't remember much of that. Sorry, man.
Anything else stick out to you from that deployment?
Oh yeah, well, we had a couple, like we went and did a build mission. There's a district called the Jazeera District, and we went through, at that time we had swapped. The other platoon was doing build missions, and we were doing the route clearing. They were doing the route clearing, we were doing the build mission this time, and the Jazeera District was bad. Oh, that's another time. We got ambushed on a route in the Jazeera District, and that was like every time you went there. So that's why we were doing this build mission, was try to push them out of there, the insurgents. And we went through, oh man, we were there. It was at the end of October, early November, because our plan was to get back in time for the Marine Corps ball. But we had found out Chuck Norris was going to be in. So we wanted to try to hurry up to make it, not hurry up, but to try to get in there in time to see Chuck Norris too. Which I told him, why would we want to see him? If he's such a badass, he could stop the war right now. Because all the Chuck Norris sayings.
Right.
But while we were there, we took fire. That route clearance group got blown up like 4 times because we would have them clear because our equipment was huge, bringing in dozers and towers and stuff like that. So they would clear us in, and then we'd start building these OPs. One OP, we're sitting there, and they had cleared through, and literally they had a vehicle destroyed, like a catastrophic. The person in the vehicle he was unconscious, I believe, knocked unconscious, and that was it. We went through, and we're building, and right across from a road, we worked with the Iraqi army a lot, and let's just say they didn't follow the same schedule or work discipline that we had. So they were taking a break across the road, and one of them comes up to me and just goes, boom. And I'm like, boom? Boom. And he points over at something. So I go walking over, and I don't know why, but the corpsman came with me. And we go walking over, and sure as shit, they used to use, like really big olive oil cans or like square tins, that's what it looked like. But it was packed with something, and it had a red cord coming out. And I don't know how, but they always had some kind of red det cord on their shit, or a lot of times, not always. So I'm like, yeah, that's boom. And that Iraqi walks over and kicks it. Poof! And you see me and the freaking corpsman like, stop. And I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. And he starts, going off in his Arabic. I didn't know what he was saying, but he kept, boom, boom, like, so we report it, and we took care of it. And then we're still building on that same site. And we had Navy SEALs sitting out in a perimeter to our north. And they ended up taking fire. And while they're taking fire, we start doing our reaction to it and getting our weapons and everything. And then we had a security team. They're sitting there. And one of the security team gets out of his vehicle and takes a leak on the side of the road, gets back in the vehicle, and then we heard a poof. And they call on the radio like, hey, we're all like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Hey, there's an IED right outside our vehicle. I was like, all right. So I had to go over there and clear it. Everybody says, if you heard one of my Marines say, he's like, Gunny's fucking crazy for going over there and doing it. It wasn't that bad. It was pretty much a Frankenstein. They used an artillery shell packed with homemade explosives, and then they used trimmings off of a machine shop like angle irons and square tube stock and stuff. And it was command, and it had already low ordered. So we cleared it. But then, through that, like when we did the recon for there, we got in firefights during that time. And then another build mission we did. Well, right before this time is when we lost Aaron Seal. He was on a build mission up in Cop Baghdadi, up north. It was north of where we were at by, I believe by Al Assad. And he was killed by sniper fire. Got him right in the head. And then after that, most of our injuries were concussive. One guy got shrapnel, literally hit his Kevlar right here and ripped through his Kevlar. I'm pretty sure he still has it to this day, the Kevlar. I don't know about the shrapnel part, but the Kevlar. And then one of our route clearance missions, we went out, we had flipped the way they interpreted the intel. They thought that we should go out at night and clear routes, when the majority of the explosions or contacts were during the day. So we started going out during the day, and we went out. We were escorting some infantry to a cop for supplies, and we got hit with small arms fire, RPG. An RPG, it hit the muffler of our EOD crew, and it didn't explode. It sat in the muffler, and you could see the propellant. It's just flying, going off. Heavy gunfire. And then after that, well, we were doing a route clearance mission towards Ramadi, and at the same time, our support company was doing what's called route sanitation. They're cleaning all the foliage off the side of the roads. Pretty far back, they're doing dust abatement with some products that like solidify the soils, makes it harder to collect dust. And we pull up, and there is they had just come through and cleared it all, but there's this one tumbleweed sitting in the middle of the road, or on the side of the road in the middle. It's like a 4-lane highway, and you can plain as day see it's like a 30-gallon air compressor tank on old, you know how old roller skates like from the 50s were made with steel wheels? It had those on it. And so the lead vehicle's like, you know, hey, look at this, it's up here. We end up driving farther than we thought, and you know, we get the arm out, and we're trying, one of the first things you do when you find an IED is you try to detach the detonator to make it fairly safe for EOD to go through and neutralize it. And we're sitting there, and literally it's like something out of a comedy, because we try to pull the initiator, and all it's doing is rolling this big silver tank looking thing out into the roadway. And it's got a command wire. So we know there's somebody over there looking at us, watching us. So we get and there's a wadi right there. So we had to get security across the wadi while we're doing it. And then the fucker cooked it off on us. And it blew off. It blew the arm off. The armor, we called it invisible armor, the windows. It was like 7 inches thick. When that blast happened, you could hear it fucking move in and crack. And it pushed the vehicle back like, I don't know, 20 feet, something like that. And I remember hearing, like, it blew me back because I was up watching the operators trying to remove the detonator, and it blew me all the way back to the back of the vehicle. And I remember I had the radio on, and they're like, holy shit, the buffalo's gone. And I was like, I'm not dead yet, am I? Yeah. And then we get up, and it was fun because like my two operators, they were in their seats, and when the blast happened, I don't know what caused it, but it seemed like their seats went back, and they just blew their arms back like they were crash test dummies or something. And like we all get up and get our wits at the same time, and like a simultaneous motherfuckers. And then the dude was the classic fucking insurgent, jumps out of a window in black pajamas and a fucking mask and starts popping at us with an AK-47. So our CO was in the convoy at the time. He gets on the net and calls troops in contact. And when you do that, you get every asset that's available in that battle space to you. So all of a sudden, I hear him call, hey, I just called troops in contact. Get ready to start calling coordinates and all this. Here comes this fucking tank out of Ramadi, man. Hauling ass out of Ramadi. A dude sticking his head out. He's got this dirty ass white t-shirt on. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow. And he doesn't have his tanker's helmet buckled. And they just come and start laying waste, man. They got a 50 cal on it, and they're just blasting everything with the 50 cal. And my security team's right under there. And at the same time, here comes these jets, you know, calling in, hey, and doing what they do to mark targets, and I'm trying to get this dude to stop, and my head is killing me. And I remember I go back, I'm in the back of the vehicle, I'm like, what the fuck is ceasefire now? And the EOD guy that's in there, he's like, hey, dumbass, remember it's this. I was like, oh yeah. So then I tell the tanker, and he stops, and all through pre-deployment, always yelling at the Marines, man. They're all, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. I was like, you got to do it again, do it again, do it again, do rehearsals, dry runs. We did rock drills, all kinds of stuff. It was like a thing out of a fucking ballet, dude. Them going after this fucking Haji dude, or whatever you want to call him, insurgent. It was beautiful. The way they dismounted, bounding, getting to the clearing buildings, communications, smoke, grenades, all that shit going on. I was like, this probably only took like a minute and a half, but it seemed like I was watching a movie, dude. I was like, I'm so fucking proud right now.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers didn't blow me off after all. It was great.
That's awesome.
But they knocked the air out on the vehicle. They knocked the coolant out of the vehicle. We were able to still drive it. But, I can't remember when it was. It was fucking hot that day is what I remember. And I don't know if my head hurt from a concussion or dehydration.
Right.
And then all we're wanting to do is to get back to the base. Get back to camp. We can get this fucker worked on and go back at it. And they find weapons caches while they're doing the route sanitation. It ended up taking for fucking ever to get back to camp. And then we did a build mission out, I told you about, we did the entry control points around Fallujah. We were out there doing a build mission. We were building these Frankenstein buildings is what they were. There's a stuff called HESCO. It's a webbing. You open it up, fill it with dirt, and we turned buildings out of it into it, or turned it into buildings. And one of our Marines, there was another building we were making called an MPB, and they were up there working on it, on the roof of it, and a sniper took a shot, and he fucking got blasted right in the hip, like expertly. The sniper fucking knew what he was doing, because he didn't hit the body armor at all. And he was a real big, tall dude. And it was a cool morning. I remember that because I was still wearing my winter stuff at the moment, and I'm sitting there. The infantry had just done a raid, I want to say the night before or 2 nights before, and they confiscated cigarettes the insurgents were selling. So we're all sitting there smoking these insurgent cigarettes, and you hear the crack of a sniper round. Like if you've ever fired at the rifle range, you know what it sounds like for a round to go by you. And I hear it, and it gets real quiet, and I'm like, I start looking around to see where everybody's at, because we had quite a few people on roofs, working on roofs. And I was like, I didn't hear anything from one crew, and so I went running over there. I told somebody I was watching tools for one of the younger Marines so he could use a head or something. I don't know, but I go running over, and I'm like, hey, why are you guys answering? And I hear one of my younger Marines, we got it, Gunny. And then I hear actually it's this Marine right here. He just lets out a, So I go running up there, and yeah, he had been hit, and he was bleeding pretty good. Not too bad, but pretty good. And God bless these Marines' hearts, man. They were trying everything to help him out, but they got I poked my head around, and they've got the first aid kits, and it's like they're like a bag of chips. It was like hermetically sealed, and they're trying to get it open, and when it opens, it just shit goes flying everywhere. And we had dirt on top of the roof up there, at the time. So it's all in this dirt. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'll take care of this, guys. And they didn't want to leave, but they did. And one of them actually, because we were in an elevated position, and this dude was a tall dude, you know, and you see me, I'm a fucking midget. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do this after I just told him I'm going to take care of? And he's like groaning a little bit. But my corpsman comes up with me at the time too. He gets up there and he gets him wrapped up and stabilized. And we get him moved over, and one of the younger Marines had a forklift there with a pallet of wood. We drug him onto that, and literally the medevac Hummer was right there, so he just pulled the wood over, and they were able to slide him right on the Humvee, and they gone. And the funny thing is the sniper took another shot after that, so he got greedy, but he didn't hit anybody. And then we loaded up, myself and another group of Marines, and we headed over. They took him to Camp Fallujah, and we get there. They took him into surgery. We waited for him to get out of surgery. They brought him out, and they got him in this like medical stuff, but he's in a body bag.
Yeah.
And he's in this body bag, and they got all this medical shit on his head and everything, and he's out. So we're like, well, is he okay? What's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, he'll be coming out of anesthesia any minute now. And he fucking pops his head up, and you can tell he's still in anesthesia. He's like, I want to kill every one of those motherfuckers. Like, I bet you do. So then we go back, and I'm like, listen, Hyman's fine. And you know what he'd want us to do is keep working on this mission. Mm-hmm. And every one of the Marines were like, yeah, we don't want to do that right now, man. We're like, well, we got to figure something out. We can't just stop because one of us got shot.
Did they find
part of it.
The guy that was shooting?
So there was a sniper that was operating in the area that they had known about. And I want to say it was about a month and a half later. We were still in country when they believed they killed him, because what he was doing, he was driving around in a sedan and crawling into the trunk and firing through a hole in the trunk. It had a peephole in the tail light or something.
Like that guy in was it Washington that did that? The father.
Oh no, you're talking about the sniper, the DC sniper.
Yeah. He did that.
Yep. Yeah, he was doing something like that, and he was covering quite a bit of an area.
Yeah.
But
wow.
they knew it was the same guy. And then let's see here, what else happened? That was one of our last missions there before the RIP came in. I can't remember what we did after that. But we also had a crew that went to Camp Fallujah. So the surge started happening when they started just bringing people in. Oh, that's another time. I forgot about Rutba. Rutba! So Rutba is out towards the Syrian border, and they wanted us to go out there. They brought the MEU in to clear the city because it was a hot spot. It was like a dropping point. They'd sneak in through Syria, we thought, and then they'd stop at Rutba and then keep moving. And so we went out there. It was like 15-hour drive or something. Now along the way, we found an IED in an area that was supposedly cleared. Then we're driving down there. Now, the route we're taking is like I-94. You know, it's a 4-lane highway divided. It looks just like it. And we get there, and a truck is flipped over. So, you know, we got to stop, figure out what it is, make sure it's clear. We drive around it, clear it. And as we're clearing it, we look into the back of the truck, and it's a load of fucking potato chips. I'm like, are we sure this thing's clear? Yeah. I was like, I'm going to go get us some potato chips. So I jump out of the Buffalo, and I grab a couple cases of potato chips. The Buffalo had like a back area. So I throw those in the back area, and then I climb up, and I'm like, we're going to have potato chips when we get to Rutba. So we keep driving, get to Rutba, and we're sitting there, we're waiting to meet the MEU commander. And finally they tell us where to go meet him at. And while we're there, I'm waiting and I pull out those potato chips. I'm like, hey, who wants potato chips? Throwing them at it. Everybody wants potato chips. So we start opening the bags and go to eat them. They were fucking ketchup flavored potato chips, dude.
Gross.
It was gross. It was like a big letdown.
Yeah.
But so we get there and the MEU commander is sitting there commanding the MEU down into this city from a little high point on the eastern edge of the city. And like while we're talking to him, we can see the infantry like fight in a firefight with a couple insurgents down over here. And he's like, yeah. He's watching them. He's like, yeah, okay, so what I need you to do, you know, like just all in a day's work, you know? And so we go through and we clear the routes he tells us to, and we get done. We come back and we're like, Matt, you know, nothing happened. We found some UXO and some stuff. We cleared some bridges, which is you have to do manually, and then he's like, hey, why don't you go down and go hit another phase line for us? I'm like, all right. So we go down and we get down to this next area, and we turn around, and it was like classic shit we would see in Fallujah. Like little kids would run out, throw rocks at you. Then the like 8 and 9 year olds, maybe 10, they'd come out, they'd throw a grenade at you. You know, so you don't stop. You keep, you know, because they want you to stop. So you keep moving, let the security thing know, and then dad, grandpa, uncles, whoever it was, came out with an RPK and started shooting. And they weren't hitting the vehicles, but they were shooting at us. And one of our Marines just fucking laid waste to wherever they were at. So we got to go back and do a battle damage assessment. And we double back, go looking through, and blood everywhere. Nothing, no bodies. So we get back, and we get back to our little staging area, and we're all high-fiving him, giving him pats on the back, and I don't think he thought that was cool.
I don't think so either.
But yeah, so that was the 06 deployment, pretty much.
Wow. So
And, we took artillery incoming a lot during that, but
So what, when you got back, the IED clearing, did that affect you with like driving and stuff like that when you came home? Because I've heard a lot of guys that had a hard time in that kind of stuff.
Garbage. First off, it was very hard to go over 12 miles an hour there for a while. Like figuring that out. Garbage on the side of the road, potholes. You didn't trust potholes. Yeah, to this day.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Dude, I saw dirt on the side of the toll road. It was like I was back there, you know.
Yeah. So what helps with that kind of stuff when you talk to other guys, or if there's guys watching this that may be struggling with the same thing? What would you tell them?
Oh, dude. Well, I'm lucky because my Marines live close. So I get to see them a couple times a year, doing that. The VA helps a little bit. Having a beer with my buddies or some good whiskey, much better than any medication or therapy that I've had yet,
Yeah. Yeah, that sense of community is important, right?
Yeah.
Brotherhood. So we'll pick right back up where we were at. So you just finished the second deployment.
Yeah, I finished it. Well, while I was still on it, they were asking we had gotten word that our home battalion was deploying forward. And they were asking for volunteers because they wanted experience. And at the time, they had put a message out about Marines with deployments were going to be looked better for your career than going to a school or something. So I talked with the wife, I talked with some other people, and I was like, I'm going to volunteer, but I want to get the right job. So when I volunteered, they're like, yeah, you have this job. You got this job. And I'm like, all right. So I start planning. You know, even while I'm still there doing the other stuff, I'm starting. It wasn't a whole lot of effort, but I started planning, and then they came back and they were like, no, you can't have that job. I just had somebody else that wants it. It's got a little more experience than you. Okay, fuck off then.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Fuck me, no, fuck you. You know, and so I come back home, and one of the officers was friends with my commanding officer, and he was like, listen, you need to go help these people. And I was like, all right, well, you know, I'll go be an advisor. I'll go help them, you know, walk them through some stuff and everything. That's about as far as I'm going to go, because you know what, they snubbed me. I'm not interested, which was the wrong attitude to have anyway, but either way. So I get back, I go through all the demobilization with the unit, and then I catch orders to go to 29 Palms with the deploying battalion. And when I get there, they had other people come in that had been there, but they were in Ramadi, and Ramadi was its own little entity. Like we didn't go into Ramadi, and people from Ramadi didn't come into our area because they had their hands full in Ramadi. So we start doing these chalk talks, and I'm just an advisor, but these guys are like, you know, this is how it was in Ramadi, so that's how it's going to be where we're going. And I was like, yeah, that's not how it was. You know, I don't get an argument with them, but I let them know that's not right, gentlemen. This is how. Now you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's pull out some stuff. And so I'm doing that and everything. And in the meantime, I've got it. Literally, the people that took my place were my friends, were my buddies, but they had more experience. They didn't have anything to do with me not going. And so I'm talking to them like, who are these guys? Oh, you know, they'd been there. They were very well decorated for their actions in Ramadi. So everybody was like, oh, these guys have this decoration, so we should listen to them. And I'm like, oh no, this is what happened here, here, and here. You know, go through it. And they're like, okay. So we start running the drills, and apparently they liked the way I freaking ran the drills for them and everything, and taught them how to react, and was pretty regimented about things. And they're like, well, you said you don't want to come, but you're going to come with us. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, yeah, you are. Here's your orders, bitch. So what I like saying is I got voluntold. At first I volunteered, I pulled it back, and then I got voluntold. And so I literally came home long enough to grab all my shit. It's like, they're like, we're going back to Camp Lejeune, meet us there. You got this much time. I forgot when I had to report. So I came home, told the old lady, I was like, babe, I did too good of a job. I got to go. So I'm like, I don't even know what job I'm going to do. You know, they were talking about different jobs and everything. Then they're like, you know what? We'll just put you in operations. You're going to be a watch chief. So I'm in there, and the whole time I'm like, yeah, you guys got to think about this and this. You got to get this. Now, during my time from leaving in 2006 to getting back just a couple months later, the Arab Spring had happened. I'm not thinking about this. I'm not considering that at all, you know? And so we go and we relieve literally the unit that relieved me. And we get there, and I'm talking to the guys, and they're like, yeah, it hasn't been bad for like the last month or so, man. And I go, oh, they're just taking it easy on you. They know you're ripping out, man. That's it. Well, we get out there and they start operating, and they had an instance where they got in a firefight with themselves, pretty much is what one platoon did, and it wasn't good. Somebody died, not us. It was an Iraqi citizen that had died, and so I'm like, oh yeah, everything's still got to be going that way. So I'm like the whole time I'm being very serious with like the Marines that come in to work in the COC, where I'm making them run drills. Hey, this happens. What are you doing? This happens. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Everybody was on alert, or I thought they were on alert and on edge because we were training like it. And then we went and we did this build mission that was at one of the old chemical sites, not chemical weapons, chemicals. And so they were doing a build there to help with, I forgot what they were doing. It was either Iraqi army base they were making or a police base. And they're doing it, and they keep sending us this information, and I've got to sit down every day, and it was like I had to give a percentage of everything on a Gantt chart. And there was 450 things on this Gantt chart. So every day they'd report it to me, I'd have to report it, and then I'd have to, or put it into a report, and then I'd have to send it to higher. And I had a time deadline, which my last deployment taught me, fuck a time deadline, or don't let the guys operating worry about the time deadline. You worry about the time deadline. So I'm like, how am I going to fix this? So one day, one of the guys from our S4 shop comes in and is like, why are you doing all this work? We can essentially automate it. They send this report, you copy it, it goes into this report, and then at a time, it goes into this, it gets attached to this email, goes to them. And I'm like, oh, how do you do it? He wouldn't tell me how. He's like, here's the help doc. So, for Excel, it was what it was. PowerPoint, Excel, I had to do PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. And so I'm doing this. I finally figure it out. And he helped me troubleshoot some of the things I got stuck. So then it was pretty much, they'd call me like, hey, here's my report. They'd send the report, and it was gone. Pretty much 15 minutes later, it was gone. I didn't have to worry about it. They thought that was the greatest thing next to sliced bread. Mm-hmm. Gave me an award for writing a report.
That's awesome.
It wasn't even my idea. It was this S4 Marines. But so during that time, I'm still going with what I learned on my prior deployment. And the Marines and officers that are cleared to come into the COC, you had to have a top security clearance come in, and they'd come in, and they're all, a lot of them are lighthearted, big smiles, and like, ain't no way all of these are happy people, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So they got a Buffalo, which was the vehicle I commanded in the previous deployment. They get one. And they're like, we want you to teach them how to do this. Like, all right, so I set up people to take over my spot where I'm at, and I go out and I'm telling these guys, I'm like, you better be ready. This is it, when the boom happens, it's big, buddy, telling them all this stuff. And these two younger Marines, they were good to go, but they were just like, yeah. Just laid back, like it's nothing. I'm like, no, this ain't nothing. So finally it comes time to like, hey, I think they might be ready to do this. And they're like, good, we want to use it on this mission into Fallujah. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I want to go then. And they're like, yeah, you were going to go anyway. Mm-hmm. So all right. I go over to where the mission starts, and people are passing a football around. People are joking, they're slapping, playing grab ass, and I just go full fucking gunny on them. You motherfuckers have no idea. You better square yourselves away. You're all fucked up. You're going to die. You're not going to die. You're going to do something stupid and get somebody else killed. And and they all just shut up, and they start acting serious. We get in the vehicles. We head out on the mission, and we go over the new bridge into Fallujah. And there was newly paved roads. There was a community fountain. There was street lights. I looked down the route, and the wires are all gone. And
Totally different
you know,
place.
I'm up front. I'm like, get ready, boys. This is it. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, war's over. Wake me up when we're done. And then we get over, and they start doing their mission, you know. And I'm just, now I know why they're acting like that. You know, 'cause they don't have to be. And the fucking buffalo they got took a shit. So I'm like, all right, well, if you don't need me, since the buffalo's dead, they told the buffalo to Camp Fallujah. I followed it, went with the buffalo, and I caught a flight back to fucking TQ. I walked in, I told my war wife, I was like, dude, this war is fucking over, man. This ain't shit.
Wow, they built all that stuff up quick, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
a matter
that's
of months.
great.
And then if you went the other way towards Ramadi, supposedly it was the same way.
Wow.
And that was like outside, in between Fallujah and Ramadi, you had Khalidia, you had the Jazeera district, and then just out north of the Jazeera district, I forgot what it was called. But that was like where the insurgents would come, and then they would spread out in Anbar to fight us. And so like all of that getting cleaned up, it was like, yeah, we don't need to be, we just need to guide the
Right.
Iraqis at
Right.
the time, you know. So that
Wow.
was about it on that deployment. And then I came home and I got this post-deployment respite leave. So for every month I deployed, I got like an extra day or something
Right.
of leave. I ended up having like close to 3 months off, I want to say is what it was.
Saved it up.
2 months, 3 months. And I pretty much sat on my couch, drank beer, and played World of Warcraft.
Nice.
Damn near every day.
Nice.
Except one time I was telling Eli, I had a buddy who was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and he's like, hey man, you want to go golfing? And I was like, no, I don't want to go golfing. I haven't golfed in this long. I'm not good at golfing.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting my money on golf. And he's like, well, how about I call you Dr. Bain today and you play golf with us? All right. You know, so I go and I fucking birdied the first fucking hole I played, man. And that was it. It was downhill from there.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought new clubs, new bag.
Yep.
I tried golfing all the time. It was crazy.
So your son is a Marine too, you said?
Yeah.
So what, how was that for you, you know, when he followed your footsteps? Was that a big thing for you?
Yeah, it's a point of pride, you know, but it's frustrating also because I try to guide him and tell him how things are because he's doing the exact same job I do. He's done, like him being a coyote, I was doing that for the group when I got voluntold. And he's like, yeah, you don't know how it is, Dad. It's a new core, Dad, is what he keeps telling me. It's a new core, Dad. It's new ways. But when he talks to me, I can still understand what he's saying. You know, I can relate to everything he's talking about and go through. But yeah, it's a point of pride.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's great. And what else was I going to ask you about? Oh, what are you doing? What do you do for work? What's your career?
I'm a steel worker,
Okay.
union steel worker.
Gotcha.
I work at US Steel where my dad worked.
Wow.
My dad, two uncles, and my grandfather all worked there.
Wow.
And they did my family a solid, man. Like, so during the invasion, when I lost all that money playing Cutthroat Uno, I didn't know it, but the Marine Corps wasn't paying my wife, or her insurance was messed up too. So she didn't know what to do. I was a union official when I left. I was an assistant griever at the time when I left. And so she didn't know what to do. She went to the union hall and she's like, hey guys, can you help? I don't have, I haven't been paid in a while. And that she literally went there the day of a union meeting. She didn't know that. And they took a collection up at the union meeting. The next day they brought her the collection money. They brought her food. They brought toys for the kids. And then people would come and check up on her for me, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a union steelworker. I was a volunteer fireman, which, like, when I left for the invasion, they did this huge thing. They put not memorial, but like commemorative things for me on all the apparatus. When I left, one of our people in the Marines was popular for saying, going to fight the Indians, be back in 6 months. So I printed out a sheet that said, going to fight the Iraqis, be back in 6 months during the invasion, and I put it on my spot on the gear rack. So they helped with the family, while I was gone. My wife, I was gone during my birthday, so she threw me a birthday party and then video recorded it. And like all kinds of people came.
Cool.
And yeah, it was. What else? Oh, I was a town councilman. So I also, I can't remember when I became a town councilman. I want to say 04. 04, because I got elected and inaugurated while in country.
How's that work?
So, well, my wife campaigned for me. Mm-hmm. They allowed her with the power of attorney to sign all my election material or candidacy material, I should say. And then when I got elected, the town treasurer sent me all the paperwork that I needed to fill out. And I literally did the swearing in Iraq. And then I had them take a picture, and pretty much, I don't know, somebody decided to tell, hey, maybe we need to tell the public affairs officer about it, and it just blew up from there, man. It was on CNN,
Wow.
USA Today, Fox
Unreal.
News, all that shit, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So what, is there anything else like that you'd want to say to anybody watching this, whether it's people that family, friends, or anybody in general? What are some things you've learned, I guess, across your both your time in the Marines and just in life?
What have I learned?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lessons. What kind of lessons you got for us?
Whiskey's good.
Hey, that's a good one.
What else? Work hard, play hard. Be happy, never be satisfied.
Yeah,
And don't take nothing for granted.
that's for sure.
Yep. And you can never do it yourself, man. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time I pretty much from graduated high school, it took somebody to help me to do something, to get ahead or whatever, It took my in-laws using connections to get me jobs or something, or even in the Marines, people, take you under your wing and teach you the way. I didn't just have God put his hand on my head and next thing you know, I was Gunny, It took a lot of people to, even the awards I wore, or, like, one of the big things in the military is coins. And I got coined a lot. I'm not bragging to say that I got coined a lot, but when I did, I would always be like, don't give it to me. I'm not the one that earned it. Give it to the junior Marines. They're the ones that did the work, So sometimes, they'd give it to me, and then I'd give it to the junior Marine, or they would put the junior Marines in my place. So, and then until I got to Iraq in 06, that was when I finally started collecting them, because in Iraq, that was like a form of currency. You do a favor for somebody, you get a coin, different units, and being engineers, you're able to do a lot of favors for people. So I started getting coins. I was like, man, I almost wish I kept those coins. I had one of those.
Right.
But I don't regret it. I
Right.
don't regret it, So yeah, it always takes other people
Yeah.
to help you along.
What about any shout outs that you got? Obviously, your wife seems like she's been
major impact on
Not the wife.
Come
Remember,
on.
So we did this skit in '03. Hang on, let me get the sip here. We did this thing in '03. We were out building sandbags to put on bunkers, and my buddy gets the idea that he pulls out this American flag, and we make a couch out of sandbags, and he puts the American flag on the back, and he's like, we found out one of the Marines had a video camera, is why we did it. And he's like, you're going to get that video camera, and we're going to do recordings, and we're going to send them home. I was like, oh, awesome idea. So when we did it, when it came my time, we thought it would be funny to act like we were getting a gas attack. And so in the haste of anticipating this faux gas attack, I forgot to acknowledge my wife. I said hello to the kids, the family, even the family dog, but I did not say it to my wife. So I'm not sure I should break tradition now. Actually, I better. She'll beat my fucking ass right now. So, yeah, wife, the war wife,
Who's that?
Todd Mansfield, Nano, Royans, Ryan, Kevin, Rick, DK. There's too many to, way too many. Porky, Tony, Pappy. Got to remember Pappy, big union guy, big storyteller. If he was you wouldn't be through 2003 yet, because that dude has a memory. Iron Man. Let's see here. Who else? Tilfords. My kids. I know I'm forgetting people.
I'm sure. Yeah, but that's good.
There's way too many to name.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you doing this once again. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I know we've only gotten a small piece of your life in a couple hours, but it's always cool to hear it. So appreciate your service and
Thanks,
you
man.
coming on and doing this.
Thank you. In '03, it happened during spring break. And next thing you know, we find ourselves at a fucking college campus in the middle of Iraq. And these two fucking Marines, oh man, these two fucking Marines, dude, I forgot what I was doing. I think I was in a staff meeting, and we were outside talking about like how we're going to lay out the fucking different companies and where everything's going to be and shit. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden, out from this window comes this big ass banner from these two Marines, and it says Spring Break Iraq 2003. And it's like, oh yeah, sir, so we're gonna lay down bomb over there, we're gonna lay down showers over here, and what the fuck is that? And you see like all the junior Marines, yeah! So after that, it was like anything they did in their free time started off with Spring Break 2003 Iraq! like it was an MTV show or something, man. It was. So in '06, they said he was coming and that he wanted a presentation about our route clearance gear, because that was like the new and sexy thing. It was very new at the time. And so that and MRAPs also, we had all of that. So he comes in and he parks right next to the route clearance gear in the lot. And he comes out and he says, "Hey Gunny, I'm General Mattis." And I'm like, "I know who you are, sir. I'm Gunny Bain." And he goes, and he doesn't react to me being a smartass to him or anything. He just says, "Point me where the Marines are at." Like, "That way, sir." And the sergeant major that was with him, Sergeant Major Green, ended up being the next sergeant major of the Marine Corps, which is like the top enlisted person in the Marines. He goes, you probably shouldn't talk to General Mattis like that. I was like, sorry, Sergeant Major, that's just. And then him and a bunch of other sergeants major start crawling through the equipment like little kids, going through all the route clearing. What's this do? What's this do? What's this for? How do you do this? How do you do that? And then most of them left, and Sergeant Major Green I got to sit down with, and all he wanted to know about was the Marines welfare, taking care of them, and the forms that you take care of them. And, it's not always just being nice to them. It's taking care of them, making sure they're doing everything right, they're being disciplined properly and everything. So it was a real good time. Like, Mad Dog Mattis is the patron saint of war in the Marine Corps. And to touch him, I got to touch the magic. So got to shake his hand. Awesome. And it was even better when he said, I don't need to talk to you. I need to see the Marines, Fuck yes, you do, sir. Fuck yes, you do.